I'm actually, okay, we're good.
So do you want to
Do you
start
want to say
again?
something? Oh,
No.
okay. I'll say it in really short.
I'm just going to get something for a minute.
So I just wanted to start off this Farbrengen with how this all came about. That Simcha Chai and I were talking last week about how we're going to honor Chof Bais Shvat and the Rebbitzin and the possibility of doing a Farbrengen. And we left off on Friday that, okay, we're going to make a flyer for the Rebbitzin with a picture of hers, and we're going to say living with the Rebbitzin's legacy. And we both felt inspired by it and excited by it. And then both of us had this feeling over Shabbos of resistance and unsure. And then we reached out to each other Sunday morning, and I actually reached out and I said, I don't know, I feel resistance and I don't know why. Like, it's the most beautiful thing. Of course I want to honor the Rebbetzin. Of course I want to do a Farbrengen, and we'll both show up authentically. Like, why is there resistance? And Simcha Chaya said that she also was experiencing the same uncertainty and resistance. And then we just ended up having a really authentic conversation about what's going on and about, her family, my husband, our traveling, our children. And then we both just had this experience where we realized, wow, the Rebbetzin is communicating to us that this is the Farbrengen and this is how to live with the Rebbetzin. This is the Rebbetzin's legacy, that it's not even so much about Farbrengen or talking anymore, but are we really willing to really get to a place that we're really living it? And it's about being it and embodying it, and really embracing that our shluchas is in our homes and with our families and whatever comes our way. And the Rebbetzin really, really role modeled that for us. We wouldn't know how to live this if the Rebbetzin didn't really trailblaze this for us, because for her shluchas was in her home, and whoever was supposed to be inspired by her and impacted by her came to her in her oasis, in her energy. And she never went out searching for, how to inspire and how to meet people and how to make connections. They all came to her. So we came to that conclusion, and we understood that the Rebbetzin was communicating to us. It's about our home and how we are and how we live. And at that moment, as we were coming to terms with that and, ready to move on, and we said, we'll keep Farbrengen about it, but it will just be the two of us. Bracha texted me and said, oh, Nechama, I won't be able to do the class tomorrow. Is there any chance that you could run a Farbrengen about Chof Bais Shvat instead at that time? And I was still on the phone with Simcha Chaya. So it was just like, wow, okay. The Rebbitzin is communicating something. It was very powerful, and use your shkacha pratis. And so we said, okay, we'll continue the Farbrengen together tomorrow. So here we are. And
Hashem.
you want to share something, Bracha?
No, I mean, I just want to add a little to what you're saying, just expand. I think somebody else shared it, but that the Rebbe, like, he did his shlichus, right? He led the whole world. And who was the one that gave him the koyach? Was the Rebbitzin. So we look at koyach as somebody up there and publicizing this and that. To be able to lead the whole world, he needed her to mamish be, connected to her light. And that energized him. And when he came home, he felt, nurtured and uplifted. And he had something to, like, ground him, if you want to call it, every day. And that's what he needed to be able to do his shluchas. And so it was a team effort, obviously, but we never appreciated that, how much koyach that gave to the Rebbe, more than anything else that she could have done. And it's so beautiful that that's our role model. Can you imagine if we're supposed to be doing this, coming home to ourselves, coming home to our light, which is to be, right? That's a feminine light. And to be a light and not to be bedafka the doers, but to do through. And yet we would have a Rebbitzin that was so active and so this and that would be very hard. So Baruch Hashem, we have the Rebbitzin that made it so much easier to do the Geula work. So she's the trendsetter, Baruch Hashem. Yeah.
We wouldn't have. How would we know what to do? We wouldn't have any human role model to understand what to do. And I know we all say like the more we grow in this journey and the more we integrate this and evolve and let go, it's not something, and I've heard you, Bracha, say this, and it's so true. It's not something, you can't think it away. You can't think yourself here. It's a process. It's a natural process that the more we really do the work of letting go of the ego and the worthlessness and the needing to prove and the needing to be something from external, and we really, find that source within ourselves from Hashem and give her, and we feel worthy. It's natural. It's like that needing to chase and needing to run, it melts away because it's not our true desire. And actually it's exhausting to chase and exhausting to run and do and be. It's like, it's amazing because it's like the more and more you feel whole and worthy, like you get opportunities and you're like, why would I want to do schlep 2 hours and, speak in the middle of the night and come back exhausted? I'm gonna be a wreck. Why? Like, it's like the only reason I would do is if I had an ego that wanted validation, and for money, I mean, Hashem's in charge of the money. Hashem gives me money. So like, it happens. It's a natural, reaction, or that's not the word, but result of, and then the more you do, it's like I know that when I was younger, I had zero relationship with the Rebbitzin because I was in very, very in masculine energy. And I was like, okay, yeah, she's so tznius. That's what everyone says about her. It's like, who is she? Like, she's the Rebbe's wife and no one knows anything about her. And like, all we could say is that she's tznius. And I didn't relate to her at all. I actually didn't honor that feminine light. I was in masculine energy, and it's so incredible how the more and more and more I come to my true self, the more I feel so connected to the Rebbetzin, and I'm so grateful for what she did for us, showing us the way, and, for being the light that she was. And I want to say one more thing, and then I'm sure Simcha Chaya has things to share. I want to say that, Bracha, what you were saying about what the Rebbetzin did for the Rebbe, she made the Rebbe it possible for the Rebbe to be the Rebbe because, it's not about quality. No, it's not about quantity. Quantity is the amount, right? It's the quality. And the Rebbe, even though, he was doing things that only a tzaddik could do, of course, but at the end of the day, he was a human in a body. And how do you, stand there for hours and give and give and give and give and give and spend hours answering letters and spending till 4 a.m, like Yechidas, like it's not humanly possible. But when he would come home and be with the Rebbitzin, and the Rebbitzin's whole Avaida was just to be that light and be that peace and be so present. And she was in her home, she wasn't running anywhere, and was so available and so full of love. Like, I could just imagine like 10 minutes with the Rebbitzin. The Rebbe like was so seen and so loved and so filled up that it was like, now I could give and give and give and give and give. Because I know all of us, and I know I have that experience, like, you could have a conversation with someone or spend time with someone all day, but if it's not deep and it's not authentic and it's not nourishing, it's like, it just drains you. At least for me, I'm an introvert. I get very drained. But like, you're with someone who could really, really see you and just like go straight to your neshama, and it's like hold space for you and see inside you. It's like, okay, you're good for a week, it's like, wow. So I think it's really incredible. And yeah, I'll share more soon, but I want to hear what Simcha Chaya has to say.
Yeah, so wow, I'm so honored to be here. Thank you so much, Nechama. I loved everything you said, and this last thing that you said about, the Rebbe spending 10 minutes with the Rebbetzin, how much, like, that's such a good example, like a good parallel. I also find that, like, when with somebody that, like, the exchange of energy is just so rich and so invigorating. And yeah, you feel like you say, you have energy for a whole week. And then there's some people that it gets depleted. You feel so exhausted after 1 minute of being with them. So I love that. I think that's also what a Farbrengen is all about. It's like an exchange here. It's not somebody teaching and other people, other students. It's an exchange of energy. Like, we show up with our presence, we show up with our smile, we show up with just the willingness to be here, and I think it's so beautiful that it's Chof Bais Shvat. Actually, the Sicha, the Dvar Malchus, the Sicha starts with bracha. So that's for you, bracha. Chof Bais b'chodesh kasher in bracha. It's
Amen,
connected to
amen.
bracha. So it came through you because we were like, actually, even like a month ago or something, I think you told me, Nechama, maybe we want to do something. And I was like, maybe, yes, no, we were back and forth. And then when it was coming closer, we were, okay, let's do it. And then we're like, yes, we're doing it. And it's so interesting, like it came through bracha. So that's what the Rebbe says here. Chof Bais, the 22nd of the month, is connected to bracha. So bracha
There you
is
go.
blessing. It's also you.
Can't
And of
escape. I
course,
can't escape it. That's it.
it
I'll take it
came
all.
through
Take all the
you.
brachas.
Right. It's good. Hashem is
Hallelujah.
gonna, right. Hashem's gonna bless us through you. So that's so beautiful. I'm so happy to be here in this format. Like no flyer, no agenda. It's not how I used to live. Like 2 years ago, I think that's when my journey started in the quarantine. From no credit of my own did I come to this. Hashem literally brought me here because just like you, Nechama, I was very much in masculine energy. I had so much identification with the Rebbe, going out there and miftzayim and and having as many kids as I could and like everything was about quantity and about doing and one thing after the next. I didn't really have time to process one thing from the next. And like 2 years ago, just about a little bit less, when the quarantine started and I was faced with myself, my husband, my kids, everyone home, cleaning help, no cleaning help. There was a lot that I had to face. I had to really see my feelings and see, who I was and see how I reacted to things, how I interpreted things, how I saw things. I had no way to run away. I couldn't run away from it, in shlichus work or like that. So it was, even though I did some classes on Zoom, but it wasn't, I was literally home for 3 months. So I love this format because it's so new to me that I don't have to plan anything. I just allow it to happen. And I just want to say very interesting, very technically, I was like, Chof Bais Shvat, Chof Bais Shvat is such a special day. I want to show up for the Rebbetzin. I want to be here and in which way, how would I do it? So I'm like, okay, whatever, something will come up. So they texted me last week for one school if I could speak. So she writes 8:30. So I'm 2 hours ahead. That's 10:30 at night. 10:30 at night, I am dreaming. I am not on the Zoom. I'm not giving a class. In the past, what? Chof Bais Shvat for sure. But I was like, no, yesterday I was in bed by 8:30 and the lights were off by 10 to 9. I woke up at 10 to 6, took my hour and 20-minute walk. I was feeling like, whoa. So anyway, so I was like, okay. So I said no to that. But then Hashem brought me here through you, Bracha, and you, Nechama. And then right before this, I had a Farbrengen with my ladies in my shul in Anash and in Brazil in Portuguese, because I actually closed a group. I had it's called Hasidus Online. I did it for like 5-6 years. And I would always send inspirational things. And I just had the last 3 weeks, nothing was coming. I couldn't send any videos, no audios. I would send videos of myself speaking and teaching and this and nothing was coming. I'm like, so yesterday I said that I'm going to finish, but I didn't want to finish just by text. So I had a Farbrengen with the women. It was so beautiful. And the women were like, they're like, we so admire you, what you do in your home with your family. They're not even here. How do they see you? How do they know? And one lady, she's like, it's transcendental, it's who you are. It's your presence. You don't even have to teach us anymore. We know. It was so cute. It was like so from Hashem. And it was really scary. I told Nechama, I'm so scared to close this group. But I don't know. I just feel like, the Malchus journey that we're all in. And, Bracha, you teach so much about not chasing. And I'm so loving that. I'm so I would hear it before, but it was just in my head. I couldn't really lean into it or really do it. But now I'm really, and I think that for me, I don't know if anybody else here relates, but for me, it's about saying no to so many things because there's so much clutter. There's so much stuff coming around. And at the same time, and I'll just conclude with this because I want to definitely hear other people also share, Nechama. It was so interesting because I told my husband at 1:30, I said, David, I have a Farbrengen at 2 o'clock. That was my Brazilian Farbrengen. And I'm in the living room, the dining room, and that the grandkids are here. My teenage boys, they don't have yeshiva yet. My husband, my others, there's a lot of people, and And I told him, and I said, please, could you support me that at 2:00 it should be quiet. So I come here at 2, everyone is partying. This one's on the computer, this one's on the they're just opening the doors, closing the doors. And you want to know something? I didn't even hear them. For an hour and 10 minutes, I did a Farbrengen with the women in my community, whatever, in Portuguese. I didn't even see them. They didn't bother me. I was like in this bubble of protect. And you want to know, my oldest daughter, my married daughter, she's here. She's like folding the clothes, and she's just like listening. And like, she's not going to sit, right? She's not going to sit in the Farbrengen and listen, but she's just listening. And I'm talking about my conversations with her in the kitchen while we're making food, and how that's so amazing, and that's what I want. And it was just like, okay, Hashem. But then for this Farbrengen, I said, everyone out of the house. So they left for 5 minutes before they left, because I'm like, I'm also human. So 1 hour I can handle. But anyway, it's just so beautiful to be in this space of, like, in the Rebbitzin space, where everything is just, like you were saying, Nechama, just so present, and just really being here, and like just feeling my feet on the ground, and feeling like my head is right here, and wherever I need to be inspired, I don't have to run after anything, or it just comes, and it just comes to us like there's like a magnet, like you're a magnet when you're in your light, and it brings you, like whoever we need to connect to, whatever needs to happen, it's gonna come to us, and we don't have to, and it's a practice, we don't have to advertise for it. So I'm really, grateful to be in this space. And Nechama shared so much of her journey around that. So I really give her a lot of credit, because she also, like, has done this. So it gives us so, like, it's scary to do this. Like, what? I'm just going to stand still. But things really do start happening. And it just, like, it's just beautiful to be in this energy. So yeah, so that's really grateful.
Thank you so much. If anybody has any background noise, if they could mute it.
I think it's Esty.
Yeah, Esty, could you mute?
And Chana Epstein. I don't think there's noise coming from her, but there.
Yeah. Thank you. I just want to interject. Thank you so much, Simcha Chaya and Nechama. It's so beautiful. Everything is mamish, so really hits home, and beautiful from the heart. And I just want to add something that I think everybody could really appreciate, is that the beauty is that we're coming home to ourselves, which means that it's very natural. So that means that if you're not feeling this or that, that's fine. It's not about trying to feel anything. Like, I'm speaking from experience. It's about just every day, at every moment, trying to figure out which tool you need to feel in a good state, be in a good state, be present, and you'll get there. That's what I want to tell everybody and share from the experience. And sometimes you could be there for 3 weeks, and then Hashem takes you out of it. I feel like Hashem does it on purpose. He picks you up for 3 weeks, and then he says, okay, it was nice seeing you here. And that's okay. I just want to share the process, because it's so important. People think, oh, maybe I'm not doing something right. You're doing everything right. You're not always going to feel, because Hashem wants you to figure something else out while you're in the down place. And he wants you to figure this out while you're in this energy. And you get tastes of different energies. These 3 weeks you're feeling like this. This 3 weeks you're feeling closer to Hashem. These 3 weeks you're feeling fearless. It doesn't matter. There's not such a thing as perfect, but the beauty is that it doesn't come from the head. It comes from being returned to our natural state of that, recognizing that we're one with Atmos. And that just happens through just continuously doing the work, loving ourselves, saying no when we need to, being authentic, being present, using those toyu kaiches to uplift us, healing the triggers, just whatever is needed. It's like on the moment, and then you start noticing naturally things happen. So don't force it, and be okay. And if it's like I'm sharing from being on the mountain, what it looks like and how you get here, it's not as simple as, oh, well, I failed because no, that's all part of it. And just keep forward. And then you look back like, wow, I used to need to do this. I don't need to do that anymore. I live a lot on the past. It has to be, because look at all the miracles that happen, that look at how far I've come. I don't have to defend myself anymore. Look, I don't feel defensive anymore. But it's not like, oh, you feel defensive, so now you don't. No, it's a very natural thing, which you just keep on looking back and saying, wow, come such a long way without like having, it's like not in the head. It's not like you convince yourself, okay, well, I'm going to be fearless because Hashem always watches me, no. By doing this work, it's a natural thing of returning to who we really are. And then the natural outcome is that you might be in a situation where it's frightening and you're like, oh my God, I'm not afraid. Wow, that's amazing. That's okay. So I wanted to put that disclaimer out there because I know it's, so challenging, and just to be authentic and say that this is, you're not doing it wrong if not feeling amazing all the time. And it's a natural thing. Yeah.
Well,
Thank you.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
I think we were raised always to be in control. And when we are not in control, but we can let Hashem be the driver in the driver's seat, then we don't have to, for sure you have to prepare some things in life, but it's not as much as we always were. And just allowing life to happen, I think that's part of it. Is
Yes.
that what you mean?
Yes, 100%.
I want to give a couple examples. First of all, something that I heard that was so beautiful a while ago that really helped me in my more challenging times, that it's so beautiful. Like we say, like Gila, you said the concept, like Hashem is our driver, and let Hashem be the driver, we'll be in the passenger seat. But then also what Bracha said, right? Like sometimes you're feeling Hashem's embrace and everything's going and it's great and it's like beautiful, and then the struggle comes. So yeah, it's like we want Hashem to be the driver, but there's also, I think where there's resistance is sometimes there's a lot of pain and a lot of struggle. So we resist Hashem being the driver because we feel like if we can control it and we're the driver, then we could constantly steer away from pain and struggle. But something I heard that was so beautiful, according to Chassidus, that, the same way like a parent is teaching a child how to ride a bike, the parent could stay and holding the bike the whole time. And it's like, you're running after the kid and you're holding. And the kid's like, don't let go. I'm going to fall. I'm scared. And it's like, okay, I'm not holding. But if you really love your child and my child's true desire is to be independent and ride a two-wheeler and feel so good about themselves. I'm actually in that process now with my 8-year-old. And it's like, okay, she really wants to ride the bike. And she's like, don't let go. But if I never let go, I'm not actually helping her in her true desire. So by me being the driver at the bike, I hold on and then I let go, and she might fall. But every time I let go, she's building her strength of independence. And this is how Hashem is our driver. Hashem, those, like you're saying, the weeks that we feel really close and then we're in struggle again. It's like Hashem's holding us to give us the taste of that connection, the love, the intimacy with Hashem, and to celebrate, because, it's like climbing a mountain. Every time you don't just climb Everest and you're there. Every time you get to a new summit, you have to acclimate and you enjoy, wow, I'm so much higher than I was before. It's a new summit. It's a new experience. So, you're with Hashem, and then Hashem lets go. But he's there, but he's letting go so that you could be independent. Like now we're practicing riding the bike alone so we could integrate it. And because Hashem knows that's our true desire. It's like, we don't have to hold on so tight. To be free and to integrate and to own this intimacy within ourselves. So if we realize and recognize that, and then when we fall, we say, okay, right now I'm on the bike by myself. Hashem is giving me that space, but he trusts that I can figure this out and I can pick myself up. And Hashem is there the whole time. So I wanted to share that. I also wanted to share, I always like to give real life examples to this because I feel like, it helps. So I want to share something, 2 more things about Simcha Chai and I, because I think it's just incredible. Actually, I hope you don't mind Simcha Chai, but I'm going to share how we met and became friends, because I think that's like how our journey began, and it's very profound. Do you mind? You don't know what I'm going to say, I guess, but.
Yeah, well, it was on Bracha's group, right? It was on the Machos group. That's where we met.
Yeah,
but if you want to say more.
I know, I want to say, because I think it's very connected to
Sure.
this whole concept of letting go. So, no, we were on Bracha's group, but we were also, I know we were learning together in Chani's group, Farmachas. It was a year ago, actually. It was a very, very pivotal time, I know, for both of us, but I'll talk for me, and then you could add if you want to say anything. It was about a year ago. The energy was very different than it is this year. And I was at a place where actually, like right after Sukkot last year, I was still in a place in old energy where I was like, I mean, I've done this work. I've been on this journey, Baruch Hashem, for over 5 years, and facing myself and facing my stuff, and healing. But I also still had a part of me that was like, okay, I'm learning all these things. I'm getting all this wisdom, these insights, like I'm doing all this transformational work. And it's like, what motivated me was, now I know all these things, and now I could show up for the world. I could inspire the world. I could teach, I could share. It was really something that gave me a drive. And it was at some point, like after Sukkot last year, that I understood, Hashem brought me to a deeper place. And I realized that I'm not learning these things so I could change the world. I'm learning these things so I could have geula. Like, this is for me. This is for my family. This is for my intimacy with Hashem. This is very personal. And there was resistance because it's very scary to give up the ego. The ego is very, very, very strong. And the ego is the adrenaline and the drive that has given us a false sense of worth, our whole life. And I remember battling with myself, and I went on a hike. Baruch Hashem, I live in California where there's beautiful hikes and forests, and I was hiking, and I was like, what is this resistance? Like, why is it so hard for me to let go? And I was like, I'm really lonely. I like felt inside, I'm like, I'm lonely. Like I feel so alone in this world. And like, I need connection. Like I realized that space of wanting to share and wanting to show up and wanting to change the world was covering up the loneliness and the ache of deep connection and, like being seen in a real way, like nourishing my soul, not like it was a cover up. And it was Hashem gave me that gift that in that moment I was able to pause and not let my brain control me by coming up with ideas of how I'm going to do this and this and this, which is keeping me in the brain. And I was like, in my feeling, I was like, it's lonely. And at that second, literally and actually I want to say, before I recognized that I was lonely, my brain was trying so hard to control me into thinking like, do a class, do this, do that. And I was like, I thought I'm past this. Like, I don't know. I know that it's not about this. Like, why is my brain? And then Baruch Hashem was able to pause and say, oh, if my brain is trying so hard, it must be that there's a big feeling here. And I said, Hashem, please, please, please help me. I don't know what's going on. My brain is trying to get me back into old coping mechanisms. Like, I'm giving this over to you. I need your help. And that's when Hashem helped me. And I felt the loneliness. And at that moment that I expressed that, I got a message. And Simcha Chai and I didn't really know each other then. We just did a Farbrengen together. And she left me a voice note, and it was expressed the exact same thing. We barely knew each other. And she's like, I just know, Nechama, that you're on this journey, and I'm wrestling with my ego and like letting go of and trying to stay present. And it just feels so lonely. And I was like, okay, we have to talk. Like, you call me. It was just so, I wanted to share this because this is such an example of why would it would have been impossible for me to let go. It's like when why do we keep going back to our head? Why do we keep going back to ego? Why do we keep going back to coping mechanisms? Why can't we just be still? Because in the still, there's needs. And in the stillness, there's our heart, and there's, the desires and the pain of whatever in the past. And if we could recognize that and know when our brain starts tricking us to go back to old coping mechanisms, or feel like we have to chase, or feel like we need to make things happen, it's trying to fill a void that is a feeling. And that feeling could be filled with something that's so deep and so rich and such a gift from Hashem if we allow it. And the way to do it is we have to trust. Like, if we don't trust that there's something better, how could we ever let go? Because then we're just stuck with loneliness and pain, and our bodies can't do that. But if we can work on saying, if I let go of this, and I know it's not serving me anymore, I'm gonna be left with a feeling, and it will be painful and it will be a void, but I know Hashem always fills the void. Hashem will fill it with something better. And of course, being friends with Simcha Chai is a lot better than chasing and being, making classes. Like, it's so, but like, I could have never imagined that. Like, I could have never come up with that idea myself, but Hashem is always taking care of us. And I just want to say one
second. I just want to share just a recent example of something similar, where I had like a lot of intense stuff scheduled for a few days in a row. Nobody was doing their part. And I was like so I said, Hashem, I'm feeling overwhelmed. And then I just let go. And then before you know it, this thing got pushed off to that week, that, everything, this got canceled, and boom, I just needed to do exactly one thing. So yeah, this is just in line with this new way of living, just vulnerable and let go and let Hashem show you. You don't have to figure out, well, that's impossible. I have to let go. Say, Hashem, I'm feeling overwhelmed. Let him show you his wares, and yeah, beautiful. Continue.
Yeah. So another example that happened. So Baruch Hashem, like, okay, no, I'm going to say something. So the same thing that happened with doing a Farbrengen Chof Bais Shvat happened with us also. I'm going to share a little, and then Simcha Chai, I want to open up for you to share. So we were also actually on this group, we did one Dvar Malchus together. We were thinking, we were doing the Dvar Malchus, and we're like, what, we're learning anyways, maybe we could open it up for other people. So we did one class. And then after that, both of us, we were like, okay, let's do it. Let's make a flyer. Let's not. We were talking about it a lot, and but somehow there kept being obstacles that kept coming up, and obstacle with the flyer, and obstacle with this. There was resistance for me, resistance. And it was like, we were still in that place where, and it came from a really authentic place. We're like, we want to learn Dvar Malchus. We want that. And we've been learning Dvar Malchus for over a year now. And it gave, every week we said, when we learn Dvar Malchus, it like literally gives us Geula energy. It's like it's such powerful Geula energy that it gave us such a like transcendent, uplift for the whole week. So we're like, of course we want to continue it. But at a certain point, we were just like, I don't know what's going on. There's resistance. And we both just let it go. And we're like, Hashem will guide it. And then I know for me, like I experienced such a big void after that for like, sorry, my phone, such a big void for a few weeks afterwards, because like even learning Dvar Malchus, first of all, learning Dvar Malchus, but also, the concept of like showing and teaching and everything, and stepping away from that. First of all, there was so much fear, because I'm like, if I'm not doing actively like learning Dvar Malchus, then how am I going to feel this Geula energy? Like that's what gave me this high. Like that's what gave me life. And also, if we're not going to do this, then what? Like I'm just here. I'm just like. And I had to, and it brought up a lot in me. And it was just like, am I really just, and at first I felt closed in, like just me and my family and my home, and where am I going, or what am I going to do? But then I understood it was so powerful. I'm like, that Geula, like, I felt like the Rebbitzin, Hashem was showing me the Geula energy is not in the Dvar Malchus. The Geula energy is in you. It's in your home. It's like, you could even go deeper now. You don't need to rely on learning once a week to give you that feeling. Like that's where we were last year, this is like, it's every moment, it's every second, it's in your heart, it's in your body. It's like, you could access that 24/7. It's inside it. So that was another thing. And that void got more and more and more filled with this love within me. I was like the Rebbitzin, like I really felt that. And then also, again, we were going to do these classical, we were going to call it living Geula. And we both realized like, living Geula is living Geula. It's not about talking about it. It's like really, and it's so profound, because there was still a little part of me, my son's talking to me, but I'm thinking about something else a little bit, or, but once I let that go, it was, I got to this place where it's like, I'm literally just here because there is nothing I'm creating. And it ultimately brought me, like the past few weeks, I've been feeling literally the best I've ever felt in my entire life. Like, I know it's just going to get better, and I know I probably might have more challenges, but right now, just waking up, I mean, like, I'm exactly where I need to be. Everything is right here. Like, my children are my shluchas, like the way I hear them, the way I listen to them, it's such freedom. It's like, I was telling Simcha Chaya that last week, like, I really had a desire to buy, I got in Baruch Hashem, a new dining room table. That's the other thing. Like, I don't know, the house is like new furniture, new things happening. Like, it's just happening around me, Baruch Hashem. And then I got a new dining room table. So it all starts at the mat, right? So now I need new, beautiful tablecloths. So I was like, I sat outside for 2 hours with a computer. I'm like trying to order and looking and searching. And I felt so good. I'm like, I used to sit in the office for hours planning this program and that program. I'm like, no, now I could spend my hours taking care of the things I want in my home that I live with. Like, why would I want to do anything else? And it's like, I don't need to go anywhere. I could sit in my backyard. I go on walks, like the freedom. And I want to say, first there was resistance, and first it was fear, and first there was pain, and there was a void. I had to walk through that. You can't not. You have to walk through it. But now I feel like whatever comes my way, I'm here for it. And there's so much movement, and so much shifting, and so much releasing and healing in my relationship with my husband and with my kids. And it's really, and this is what Chof Bais Shvat is about. And this is what the Rebbitzin is about. So, okay.
Thank you. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone want to share?
Yeah, I could share. Hi everyone, thanks for doing this. So one of the things that's been coming up now around the kinnos, like for me, like the kinnos in general is like very central to like my identity, I guess. Like as far as, we're talking about like the pre-COVID me, the post-COVID me, the transitional. So yeah, like the kinnos, like I started going to the kinnos when I was 6 years old. And like it was like the highlight of my year. Like it was like my bedrock for my life. So it was really hard to like and I mean, like thinking back then, I thought like by now I didn't like think about it, but like I didn't imagine life to be different. Like I didn't imagine a life without the kinnos, so it's been like, I was talking to Hani about this yesterday, but it's I don't know, it's one of those things that's like one of those things in life that and I like like an identity shift, identity crisis, whatever you want to call it. Anyways, so one of the things I was thinking about over the last few days was this idea of like the hype, and one of the things that I remember experiencing, and I see it a lot, is like the miracle stories and the drama and like the mysterious nefesh and the running and like a lot of the push, pushing for, I don't know, just like a lot of like rah head counselor. So like a lot of like that kind of energy. And it's funny because if you think about it, like only certain people can kind of relate to that, right? You have certain personality types. Like he's a shliach type. It's like, what? Whatever. That's the kind of thing. It's like, oh, if he knows how to fundraise, if he knows how to approach people in this specific hype way, then he could be a shliach. Anyways, just for a little framing, and like it's fine if that works for you, great. It doesn't work for me. So yeah. So I think for me, stepping into the Malchus energy at this phase is hi Chami, is moving away from the hype and moving in more, like we're talking about, like the inner voice, whatever. So more sinking into that, and then sinking into that idea that pleasure and the grounding, like to really be grounded in the experience. And in the levels, like you always get more and more depth of grounding, right? Like especially this Monday class, that's really become an anchor for me. It's like 1 week you're like, oh wow, that's amazing, and then the next week, like you get a more deeper level of that. But yeah, so for me, it's like if I see something that's like very inspiring, very uplifting, that like kind of like takes me out of my, because that's what inspiration is. It takes you out of your body. It takes you to like somewhere that's not you, right? It's like you call it inspiration. You call it like an amazing miracle story. I don't know, an amazing like a revelation, understanding, and it pulls you out of where you are. So yeah, that's what I'm thinking about is really reinforcing that idea to to bring it down into our body versus, pushing out. And so, hi, you mentioned this once, Chof Bais about the idea of singing a niggin, how like a lot of and I hear it even in my voice, like my voice is like when I speak, when I teach a class, I feel like I'm yelling, I'm not. And so one of the things that I want to do next is like a voice training thing to help connect to my voice more. I'll let you know how that goes.
If I just interject about the grounding, it's interesting that this thought came to me, from Bas Lagani. I was listening to Yossi Jacobson. He has amazing insights.
He's amazing.
I want to share them all one day. It's amazing stuff. But anyway, that Hashem, every tzaddik brought down the Shekhinah more and more, and that's our generation, to ground Hashem, to be as grounded as possible. Like that, I just got that, like last week. To ground, be grounded, all the way down to earth. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Be one with Hashem in the most grounded way possible.
So with this example, exactly what I was saying about the niggin is like, Simcha Chaya taught me how like when you sing a niggin, you sing it more like inside as opposed to like going out. Like, and so when you sing it, you tell me if I'm saying this right. You're singing it like from your heart. You're singing it like kind of into yourself as opposed to like out. So yeah, that's what's been coming up for me. So anyways.
Thank you.
That's that.
How about a niggin? Could we have a niggin maybe? He's so nice. I'd love to sing.
Yes, let's sing.
Who has an idea? Anyone have an idea? Just at least one niggin we should do. Yeah? You want to unmute? Oh, you want to sing?
Ooh,
In here. I think Gila's trying to talk, but
Gila?
I think.
Okay.
You're muted.
It's time for me to go to bed. So
Okay, good night.
Yeah, so nice
All
to
the
see you.
best.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thanks for joining.
Thanks for bringing your joy.
Yes,
Gila.
Gila. Beautiful.
Maybe I can inspire you and then you'll sing a niggin. I have to tell you that Rabbi Wolf, so an incredible thing happened here in Los Angeles yesterday.
Okay.
My son-in-law and my husband were both at the dinner table last night, and my daughter came in and she says, "Did you tell mommy what Rabbi Wolf said at his shiur yesterday morning?" It was yesterday, Sunday morning. He has a shiur with my husband and my son-in-law. And my husband doesn't remember. And my son-in-law says, "Oh, you mean about Ani Lippitz?" So she says, "Yeah." She says, "Tell mommy what was said." And so Rabbi Wolf announced to his, and he recorded it. I don't know if he recorded this part. I asked him, but he basically said, "Get rid of your mashpiyim, get rid of everyone who's telling you everything." He's like, "I have to change my head." He said, "I have been doing this not in the way that I'm supposed to be doing. I need to learn a whole new way." And he says, "We have Gula now." He says, "Gula is now." And so he announced publicly that he's prepared to learn it differently and speak it differently to everyone. And he spoke, I guess, to the kinnis yesterday also through Rifki Katz, and that was recorded. And I'm trying to get that also. I just give me the chills.
I'm also getting the chills. Is everybody catching it?
He's a total Mashiach leader, and I've known this. Like, that's why I've always been attached to him. And he's really like screwing these guys' heads on, because it's a men's shiur. And he was just saying, like, don't listen to anybody anymore. He's like, you have it inside of you. You're living it. It's inside of you. And
wait, did he mention Ani? Did he mention?
Yeah, he said Ani. He listened to
so
Ani's.
What did he say? I didn't hear what he said.
Oh, so he
Ani.
said he listened to Ani's from the kina, what she spoke about. He listened to it, and that's how he got this whole. He integrated.
Wow.
Like, oh my gosh! Like, he got the insight that he has to make the shift, and then he said to everyone, "I have to digest this now. I'm gonna go now." And I said to my son-in-law, "Well, now that he's opened himself up to it, everything's gonna look different to him now. Like, everything's gonna pop out at him in a different way, and he's gonna be able to give that over." in his shears in a whole different way.
Wow.
Yeah, so I just thought I would just
So I'll share something about Annie as well, is that she put on her Facebook that there was a lot of resistance to her speaking. And then she put on our WhatsApp, she had a different topic. And then the last minute they changed it to Chof Bais Shvat. She couldn't believe it. And it wasn't the organizers of the kinnis that were getting in the way. She wrote, "You know who you are," whoever it is, I don't know. But and the people were like, because it was miraculous. It was meant to be. It was meant to be. And that's the same thing that happened to me the first time I spoke.
I remember you shared that.
Right, I shared that story where like there was resistance, and I was like, well, I knew I was supposed to speak. So I'm like, okay, I don't have to do anything. And sure enough, the organizers didn't know that I'm not supposed to, that there's resistance. They knew above it. And they're like, of course, you should speak on Chof Bais Shvat. So it's like, it's just the same story. If Hashem wants Geula to come, we don't have to do anything. We just have to be a vessel ready, and Hashem will make it happen. That it's so beautiful to see that again. I was like, how did that one happen? And like she shared the same story. I'm like,
Wow.
love it.
Wow.
Yesterday, my mother actually spoke at the kinnis. Did any of you hear her?
No, if you want to share her recording, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, I probably could share. I don't know. It's an unlisted video that I saw, but anyway, she shared at the IHEL, like before the pond. And I don't know, like as I was listening to her, I was like, wow, like I feel like I gave her a lot of the confidence to speak, because she's always like, I don't know, like she's like, oh, who am I? And I'm like, what do you mean? Everyone wants to hear you, like whatever. So anyway, but actually, which was amazing, after I spoke to her, after she spoke, I asked my father, I'm like, what complaints did she have? It's always like, it wasn't this, it wasn't that, And he's like, no complaints. And I'm like, wow. So it was really amazing. Like I spoke to her, she sounded amazing. I'm like, okay, now she's on the circuit. Like now she's like speaking. And for years now I'm telling her like, Mom, you have to speak. People want to hear you, whatever. Anyway, she spoke, but what was amazing about her speech was that she was talking about writing to the Rebbe. I'm going to cry now. And she spoke about when she was pregnant with me and my sister. So I don't know, it just felt very, I don't know, it was like wild to hear her speak in front of all these people about like, the beginning of my journey. So anyways, but no, I just like to hear
share more, Rafi.
Okay, just give me a minute. Give me a minute, please. I just need a minute to compose myself, so someone else could go now.
Okay, I want to say something. So actually, the Rebbe says that the day of Chof Bais Shvat is a day of great elevation. It's elevation for the neshama of the Rebbitzin and anyone that's connected to the Rebbitzin. And I heard this on another date, not in this Tramachos, but on another date. I think it was, I don't know if it was Chav Dalet Tevis or another Farbrengen, that the Rebbe said that when people come together the day of the yard site to speak about the neshama, about the person that, passed passed away. It's so funny to say passed away about the Rebbitzin because she's so, I don't know, it's fun to say that. But anyway, there is an elevation for us as well. So, everything that we're sharing, Shane Malko, you were saying about Rabbi Wolf and Ani and how she spoke, and like in the kinnos, like everything is going to, there's an upgrade that's happening without us even doing anything. It's just the day, the power of the day. And then when we come together, it's so much more, it's so much stronger because we're showing up for the Rebbitzin. And I think Nechama and me, when we were speaking about the Farbrengen, like that was always what we wanted. We wanted to come here and show up for the Rebbitzin, and coming and showing up for her energy and everything she brought. And I'll say for me, something that really resonates a lot about the Rebbitzin, and I think that's why I was like, I am very selective now around things that I listen to, and like also that's why I enjoy Bracha's classes so much and everything. I actually missed them a few weeks, and now I'm back to them. The humility is like this is where I want to be when I grow up. Like, this is it, because, and it's so intertwined. Like when you have talents, right? Like you have talent to speak, you have a talent for this or that. It's so easy for that to be like the cover up, like the sort of like the superficiality of who you are. I mean, at least that's what happened to me, because I wasn't really seen or heard when I was a kid. My parents were preoccupied with parnasa, with, they weren't emotionally, you know, how do you say, emotionally available, just because they weren't there for their own emotional. And I know a lot of parents and that those generations were like that. So I know it's not unique to my family, but so I created a like a persona, and that persona was going to be amazing, like international speaker and mashpia and a shlucha, and very outspoken and really inspire. Like I was going to move mountains, I was going to move people, and it did come from my heart. It wasn't, I don't think it was bad. It was just what was available, right? Like you say that a lot, bracha, like that's the energy that we were in, and that's the best we were doing it then. And then the last 2 years, it's been like, I don't want to be in that energy anymore. I don't want to define myself by that. I don't want to have any definition of who I am anymore. So letting go of that and letting it melt away. And then you're like in this scary place where you're like, now what? But something that Chani Katz, when you're on, yeah, a year of learning Dvar Machos with Chani and Rachi and Nechama, and another lady from my community, and a few women here also came on. Where are you, Chani? I'd love to see your face while I say this, because that's a space, I must say, where a lot of that identity melted away, just like, you know, butter on a hot pan. And I cried and I was vulnerable, and it was really, really amazing. It was an amazing journey, and I'm very grateful for that. I know Nechama and Chani got together like to start learning, and then I came after, and Rachi was very, very special. But anyway, just going back to that, I feel like the Rebbitzin, like there was no identity to the Rebbitzin, if you could say it that way. I hope it's not coming out wrong, but I'm trying to say it's like, you know, like you were saying, Nechama, like she was sneer, she was, you know, kol kvuda bas melech pnima. That was like the best pasuk they could come up with for her. Like, you know, she's like hiding all the time. She's running away from kavod. For me, that is the ultimate in my life. This is who I want to be. This is what I want to be, because I do amazing things. I'm so grateful for that. And of course, it's Hashem doing it for me. I have 11 kids, and I'm a speaker, and I'm mashpia, and all this. And I'm not negating that. I'm not saying that's nothing and put it to the side and say, no, that's something that I built on, and something that I worked very hard for. And Yagata Matzata Tamin, and all that is beautiful. I just feel that now for the Geula energy, that needs to come in a different flavor. It needs to come in a different way. It needs to come with a different presence. And the Rebbitzin had that presence, because she was smart, she was cultured, she loved nature. She didn't need the validation. She didn't need the praise. She didn't need anyone to tell her that she was on track. She knew exactly what she was doing. And I just want to sum this up. I mean, I know this is like so summing up, but I guess that's where we're living today. Everything is so quick. The Rebbetzin was the one that told the Rebbe to take on the leadership. She said, what's going to happen to everything that the Rebbe Ayatz did, everything her father did? So she was the one that brought the Rebbe to be the Rebbe. She was the one that did the Dida Natzach, because it was her, this year, Hey Tavis, everyone got that little message that you heard the Rebbitzin speaking. She was the one that tipped everything. She was the one that made the whole court, all the goyim, the Olam HaToyu, the whole world understand what a chassid, it was a Rebbe is. She was the one with her 2 lines, with her humility, with her grace, she was the one that did that. And now Chof Bais Shvat, she's bringing elevation to all of us. Like she's doing all of it. And at the same time, she's doing it in the most humble humble. And oh, this is something that Chani told me, and I love this, Chani. I always remember this. I always thought that making a keli was doing more and more and more. Make a keli for more brachas, for more parnasa, for more this, for more shalom bais. And once Chani said, maybe it's about emptying out the keli. Maybe it's about leaving it empty. And then Hashem can fill it, the Rebbe can fill it, the Rebbitzin can fill it. And I love that. And for me, that, like, I would say the whole year in the Dvar Malchus learning that, like that comment that Chani made, that because that's like my journey of emptying out. So today I closed Chassidus online for 5 years that I was doing it. Maybe it was 6 years. I don't remember. I left another group I was yesterday. I mean, I left the Malchus group, but it's just not because I don't appreciate the Malchus, but it's just so much stimuli and I need to empty out. I need to just empty out. And then I'm walking for 2.5 hours every day and just being with Hashem, and I'm meditating and I'm davening, and whoever needs to connect with me is going to connect. I don't have to chase it or run after it. So just emptying that out. And I feel like the Rebbetzin was such an empty vessel, like for grace and beauty, and her home was so, it was like a palace. It's not a home. Her home was a palace. The red and the velvet and the empty spaces and like everything that you read about, and like in all these, fancy magazines about decor, empty spaces and flowers and plants, and just like this amazing Mashiach Geula space where there's no noise. It's just quiet and beautiful, and it's mesmerizing. And you walk in the Rebbe's home and you're like, I don't know, the Rebbe's home is like, whoa, like that's where they live. That's where Rebbitzin, that story with the pomegranate, that she took out all the white parts and left only the pomegranate to give it to the Ben Bais that was there. Like those things that were done in the home. And today when I vacuum my home and I wash the dishes, I know it doesn't sound so amazing, but for me, it's like, I am in my Beis HaMikdash and I am the Kohen here, and my apron is like the Kohen Gadol. Like this is like, I can't.
That's the grounding. That's the grounding.
Yes,
that's
the
Hashem.
grounding.
The most grounded, the mundanest thing is the highest level of Hashem. That's the whole point. That's exactly what
I wanted to say one thing about this. I'm going to conclude with this. I'm sure Nechama and Brach and other people want to share more. I want to say this. I had this in my morning meditation while I was walking. I had something amazing. It says in the beginning of Tanya, it says in Kabbalah that there are 4 elements in everybody's body, right? We have fire, water, ruach, and the earth and the grounding. And I realized that because I have a lot of I think I have a lot of fire in me. Like I'm very passionate and very like emotional and very like that. So I need to in order to to have harmony in the other elements, I need to walk, because the walking grounds me. So I'm touching the ground and I'm having that impact, which is, so important in the walking, whatever. Then I'm breathing the air because I'm get oxygen in my lungs, and I'm like, you're breathing, and I don't wear a mask. The people still wear a mask here, but in the street you don't have to. So I'm not wearing a mask and I'm really breathing in. So that's a ruach. And then the water, this is funny, like I'm sweating because I'm walking, and all the toxins are coming out. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I have all the 4 elements when I'm walking. And that's why I feel, like I was sharing with Nechama, I feel so agitated when I don't walk. So I need to walk because it grounds me and it brings me the water, fire, everything. And then my heart, I feel more a release of everything that's going on. And I really recommend the walking. It's like, wow, it's amazing. So anyway, I just want to share that. Yes, thanks for listening.
Thank you. Rafi, you want to continue? Rafi,
I guess I could try. I'll try. No, but for the walking, I do it. Yeah, it's really interesting what you shared. I'm gonna think about it when I walk. I do a track at the gym. Lives in cold weather. You can do it at the gym or in a mall or something like that. Yeah, I don't know. It was just very impactful to listen to it. Also, I've been having some conversations about faith recently. and just listening to people's perspectives. And it was a little overwhelming to like realize just how like strong of a foundation I come from, you know. It's overwhelming to like acknowledge the power. Yeah. So I guess yeah. Another Chof Bais Shvat experience I had was actually with, no, it's a little unrelated, but anyways, this was about, I don't know if I've shared this with you before. Basically, there was a woman, her name is Louise Hager. Do you guys know who she is?
Heard of her?
Yeah, so she gave a talk. You can Google it, or I can send it to you. If you send me a message, I'll send you. I'll find the link. She speaks about her experience with the Rebbitzin, and that was a very impactful talk. It's just one of those talks that really like hit me in a very special, like in a spot that, you know, like you build on over time. You know, that type of thing. So basically what I got from it was this idea, I guess now that we're speaking about the Rebbetzin, this idea of like people coming to her. And one of the things the Rebbe told her was after she basically had a relationship with the Rebbetzin. And after Chof Bais Shvat, they asked her to speak. So she went for dollars, and the Rebbe basically, the Rebbe told her, or sorry, like she asked permission, like, can I speak about the Rebbetzin? She wasn't comfortable to do it. So the Rebbe said, like other Rebbe, like speak about the Rebbetzin, and this way people will have this way people will connect to, will be able to have an opportunity to connect to the Rebbetzin through you.
Beautiful.
Yeah, yeah. And also the Rebbe encouraged her to teach people about the Sefer Mitzvahs campaign, and encourage women to learn the Sefer Mitzvahs. But I guess now, so the other big thing that's been coming up as far as like listening to my mother's speech, but also like different conversations I've been having recently, is this idea, and this relates also to what you said, Shandel, about Rabbi Wolf, the idea of a mashpia. And I've really, really been struggling with that, like a good portion of my life, is like, what type of mentorship do you seek out? Like who to listen to? Is it like appropriate? Is it not? Like, how do you know what type of like mashpia to absorb, and what type of messages, what type of perspectives to absorb and to lead your life by? And being impressionable myself, like it just, you know, sometimes it's amazing, but sometimes like it could feel damaging, it could feel resentful, like different things. So the big thing for me was like this like relationship and this view of the Rebbe and the Rebbetzin that's superimposed by someone else. So now that I'm sharing about Louise Hager, like this idea that she responded to the Rebbe. She was like, I'm not a lady, I'm not a Rebbetzin, I'm not in anything. She's just like, she considered herself a lay person. Her husband was not a doctor. I don't know. Her husband was maybe some type of professional. And she's like, I'm not going to teach women about things. Like, I'm not a teacher. And so like now that I'm looking at it, it's like, I think when I was in my mother's womb, let's say, right, like that, like the woman was like the teacher, the speaker, like the influencer, she can give a good class, she can be it. But I think the awareness of this woman, like Louise, like she was like, I'm not anything. But I think this awareness that we're coming to is like being that woman, being that grounding presence in the home. Like you explained, Simcha, that like the women noticed it, the women felt it in their experience. They felt that like that womanhood. And I guess the closer we get to Geula and the more connected we come to ourselves and to the Rebbetzin and to nuance of the message, to really like reabsorb how we listen to things, to how we listen to truth and how we absorb truth. Because a lot of the people in the world, they listen to this version of truth and they get so turned off and like disgusted by it. They just send away the whole thing. It's like, I don't believe in any of it. And I've spoken to people like that actually, like from Chabad families that are like I don't want any of this, right? Which is very tragic and it's a painful thing to feel, right? But at the same time, just to be aware of the fact that like we have the power to to reignite the truth. Nechama, I know you were saying it's not for the other people, not for the world, but it is. And Geula is only, I think Sternasar was saying on the group today, like the Geula is only complete if it's for everyone, right? So the method is not like, going out and finding it, but going more inward and like, trusting that the truth and the real truth is going to come up, and that hopefully we'll have the schus to share that truth with others, and hopefully in a truthful way. And I guess also like the painful steps to acknowledge that they're just part of the process. Anyways, so that's that.
Thank you. Beautiful.
Can I say a comment about that?
Yeah, Viviana's part of my community.
Oh, okay. Welcome.
Yeah, hello. Sorry about my English.
Okay.
So I think like Nechama, like we trying so much for everybody, but if it's not happen inside of us first, it will not be for everybody.
Exactly.
Too. Like we need to work about ourselves, our own Geula. Then it's possible that it will be a Geula for everybody.
Exactly.
Together.
Thank you. I just want to share one visual that's amazing in the Chof Bais Shvat Sicha, where the Rebbe says, yeah, hi.
Can you hear me?
You still know of talking, or did I cut you off? Okay. Are you talking? Viviana?
Yes.
Yeah.
Now you hear me?
Yeah.
You heard what I said?
Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you. We agree. We're all in agreement. I wanted to add to that. What you're saying.
We agree.
Yeah. What I want to add to that is the visual that the Rebbe gives in the Chof Bais Shvat Sicha of the Shabbos candles.
And thank you. Really, I came in middle kind of in 11, but everything that everybody spoke, it's like everything that I was thinking lately, like your answer for all the questions.
Wow.
Like,
yeah,
like you confirmed, like Hashem telling me, like, it's fine, it's good. Like, so thank you, really thank you. Like it really was a ashgacha pratit.
Wow.
Our pleasure.
Happy.
Yes, I just want to give an example of what the Rebbe gives in the Chof Bais Shvat Sicha of the Shabbos candles. And that's how we are bringing Geula to the world. It's people don't realize what the Rebbe is saying over there. That the Shabbos candles, you light the candles, you make the bracha, and all of a sudden there's an uplifted, peaceful, calm, holy presence in the house. The house feels, and that's how like we bring in Shabbos, like the women bring it in. And that's what we need to be. We need to be that light, that calm, that holy, that presence. That's why, we could just be with someone and they feel that energy radiating, and they themselves, a lot of things melt away, they heal, whatever, in our presence. And that's how we're bringing Geula, by us being Shabbos candles. And that energy that we're bringing, that transcendent, uplifted, holy, grounded, of course. And so candle is grounded, but like if you light it on Thursday, it's not going to do the same thing. It's like, it's very specific how we could be those Shabbos candles that usher in the Geula. And you don't like go to every room and go, you stay there, you be, and it just lights up and puts a whole new energy. And that's what we're doing. So thank you so much.
I wanted to say a couple things about the Rebbitzin based on some things Simcha Chaya you said in Bracha and Rachi. First of all, I have the Rebbitzin's picture right here.
Beautiful.
She travels with me.
Can we do a nigun first? I was thinking like it would be so nice to, or are you going to forget what you wanted to say? I don't want to interrupt you.
Yeah, I'll say what I'm going to say and then
Okay.
we can do a nigun.
Yeah.
So it's so funny because my husband, I asked him when he was in New York, like, I don't know, a year ago, or whatever, I'm like, please find a picture of the Rebbitzin. Like, I need a picture of her once I emotionally connected to her. And he's like, I don't understand. She's like so serious. Like, she looks so like stern. And I'm like, no, she's a role model for me because when I just need that like glow and that light and like that candle, you know, I see her warmth. And when I'm like struggling and I'm in doubt and I'm like, you know, someone baiting me and testing my truth, I look at that Rebbetzin picture and her seriousness is like, Nechama, you do not bend. You know where you're going. You have to stay true to yourself. And it's like, I so appreciate that because it's like, she does have a seriousness in her face, but it's like that seriousness to like, stay who you are, stay in your truth. It's like almost like that picture captured that, like that strength that we need from her. So that's one thing. I was going to say three things. And the second thing I want to say about her house, what Simcha Chai was saying, I actually never had the opportunity to go into her home. And Ritz Hashem, the next time I have a chance to be in New York, I will definitely have to find a way to be in her home. But I actually wasn't in New York for like 4 years. But I saw it's so cute. My teenage daughter like rolls her eyes and makes fun of me. But then she was a counselor at the Kinnos and she's like, Mommy, I found a way to take a video. Like, I don't know if I'm allowed to, but like, it's cute, right? It's like, they know what you love and they like validate you in their own way. But she took a video. And of course, I never saw that she had that like aqua blue, you know, kitchen. It's like the stove or whatever. It's like a very, very vibrant and specific blue. And I'm like, she had obviously had pleasure in that. Like she for sure went out of her way to find that. That's not the typical kitchen, you know, she connected to that color and found a way to bring that color kitchen into her home because it for sure gave her pleasure. And third thing I want to talk about mashpia and like the geula way of, you know, what does it mean to be a mashpia and what does it mean to bring geula into the world and you know, you've all been saying that, but the Rebbitzin was such a role model of that because it's so, and this is something that touches me so deeply. Okay, she didn't chase being a mashpia for sure, but not only did she not chase, people came to her home. But when they came to her home, she wasn't like, I'm the queen, I'm the Rebbitzin. Okay, you want to be inspired by me? I'll inspire you. She saw right into their soul. And she's like, thank you for gracing me your company. Thank you for honoring me by being in my home. Like, how are you? How are your children? She saw their soul and saw right through them and ignited them from her love. And that's what touched them. And that's when they came back, they're like, I feel like I have this spiritual mother who's like, saw right into my soul and I'm a changed person. Like I can never go back to my old ways. Like I'm ignited from within because she loved them. She didn't see them externally. She wasn't like, I'm better than you. I know more than you. I'm sure a lot of people who were there were still in Gaulis energy and still had lots of limitations. I mean, we're talking, you know, almost, 34 years ago. I mean, for sure, but she didn't see them that way. She saw them in Geula. She saw their potential. And that's what it means to whatever we're showing up in the world. It's not about showing up in the world. It's about loving ourselves so intensely and so profoundly and so much that we're so lit up from, which is Hashem's love, because we can only love ourselves that if we're connected to Hashem. On a human level, we can never get to that level of love. It's Hashem's infinite love, that when we see people, all we see is their soul. And we just love them so much that gives them permission to love themselves and to get deeper into their body, get deeper into their soul. And then they'll know all the answers anyways, because their soul and their body knows everything anyways. So we don't need to tell them anything. We need to melt away their externalities and their worthlessness and their demons and all that stuff so they could get to their truth. That's what it means to be a
100%. 100%.
Okay. I'm done. Thank you.
Thank
wow,
you.
that's so beautiful,
Yeah.
Nechama. I love that. I love that. I never heard that. That's true Torah Chadasha, and it's coming to the world now through you, Chof Bais Shvat, because I think this thing with mashpia, it's like, it's like a person has their own intuition, but they're not really listening to it. They listen to someone else's intuition, someone else's perspective. It's very not geula, but I guess that's what we had in that energy. But now to be able to come in that different place. I loved how you brought the Rebbitzins example, like how she was mashpia, and people like we know all the people that had contact with her were so impacted by her. They were like you say, it was transformative. And how beautiful that we can know the Rebbitzin in this way, that we're speaking now about the Rebbitzin like so live and so vibrant. And I loved what you said about the strength also, because you have to be strong to do Malchus, you have to be strong to do Geula work. You can't just like, oh, you know, it's a lot of inner, deep, profound work. And wow, that was beautiful. And everything you say, bracha also, I don't know, I could just hear everyone, Shedu Malka, Evrachi, everyone, it's just like light coming, and with so much vessels. I feel there's a lot of vessels here, also a lot of grounding. It's really beautiful.
You too, Simcha Chaya. The way you were describing how you love your home, it's like you feel the love is tangible. You could feel it through the computer all the way from Brazil. It's like you can't miss it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I just want to say something about the home, because it's also in the Sikha, the Rebbe speaks about the makif, you know, how the home is makif. So I told my husband this morning, like, you know, like bracha, Nechama, you speak about this so much about, you know, like being authentic and being really honest. And so anyways, I was telling my husband this morning that I feel like, you know, like my daughter, whatever, she's not very like expressive, and she doesn't, he's like, well, you be expressive with her, you be loving, you speak, you know, like that. So yesterday I was asking her questions like, oh, this and that. And I felt like she was just answering a questionnaire, you know, like there was no interaction. So I felt a little sad about it. And then I was like, you know, Hashem, if this is who she is and this is how she shows up, you know, I love her for who she is. And I accept it. And that was it. Anyway, Hashem is so amazing. All we have to do is share it and be authentic, because afterwards I was in the kitchen. We were like, I was making like lunch and whatever. And my daughter, like, she took out a meat. I don't know if anybody knows, but the meat in Argentina is like, it's like butter. It's like, I mean, not literally, but it's very, very soft. And anyway, so she brought meat. And I think I told Nechama that she had brought meat, like, you know, for the family, whatever. And she made like steak or whatever. And it was really, really good. Anyway, she made that part and I'm making something else. And we're in the kitchen. All of a sudden she starts talking and I start talking. And the connection is there, and the love is there, and the expression is there. And it was like, oh my gosh, I felt like it's so beautiful. It's like, sometimes I would be so afraid to say something like, oh, this is not the way I want it, or this is, I feel funny here, or this is not in alignment, because it was like, why should I get disappointed? Why should I just go into it? But here I was just authentic, and I shared it with Hashem, and I told Hashem how I felt about it. And then I was like, Hashem, if this is how it's supposed to be, then I accept it. But I just, you know, expressed it, and it was so, so, so nice. I felt like after a week of her being here, today's Monday, no, she's almost a week and a half. It was the first time we had a conversation. So then in the conversation, I asked her, because I don't have cleaning help for the last 8 months, and it's a choice that I made because I wanted to discover my home and get to know my home and see how I delegate and how I ask for help and look at my perfectionism and let go of that. So I'm like, it's a whole journey for me. It's like a whole, so anyway, so I said, Khani, because I had a conversation with her before she came with her husband and 3 kids, like how the house runs. We don't have maids anymore and have people cleaning after. So after 10 days, I asked her, I said, Khani, how do you find the house without cleaning help? So she started sharing with me and she says, I don't know. The truth is, she says, I thought it would be so hard. But now that we don't have cleaning help, it's like, I'm more tidy. I keep things more in order because I know I don't want to clean up after it. There's more privacy. No one's listening to our conversation because we would have like cleaning help every day. Everyone's like chipping in. I don't know. Everything's flowing more. Like, it was so nice to hear that, like from her, you know, because she's on vacation and she could say, oh, I wish I would have cleaning help and I wouldn't have to clean up. But I don't know that. So it just flows, you know. I have to answer the door. So
Thank you. Beautiful. Can we have a niggin? A niggin. Let's go. One niggin. Who could suggest something? Javi.
I was going to say Javi.
Javi, come on.
You don't know any songs, Javi?
By the way, I was privileged to hear Javi's presentation a few weeks, last week, a few weeks ago. It was amazing. So I wish that everyone should be lucky to get at the thing. The niggin that keeps coming to mind for me is Varkosi Lachem Bracha, and every time I'm like, let me think of something else, I just keep coming back to that one. So that's my suggestion.
Vakoisi lechem bracha.
I believe die. I believe die. I believe die. I believe die.
Die.
Che. Sit no. Heavy lie, my die. Che yid Lucifer, say. Eli, my die.
Vakosi Lachem Bracha.
I bleed, I bleed, I bleed, I bleed, die. Javi, could you give us some tips on how to coordinate? We're like across the world.
We need a new extension to Zoom that allows all the singing to coordinate.
Okay.
Yes, the Zoom.
The next investment.
The
be
next
able to
level of
sing.
technology. Yeah.
Exactly.
Let's ask for the bracha today. Why not?
Yes, amen. Okay, what else? One more. No? Anything else? Any other ideas?
Was there ever a niggin associated with the Rebbitzin? Does anyone know?
How about one person sings a niggin? Maybe you, Javi, could sing for us and we could listen
Yes,
and like do a meditation or something. I think that would be
Yes.
beautiful.
I'm in agreement.
All right, I will say yes. I'm going to close the door. Got
Thank you.
guys
If you
here.
desire
That's it, right.
It's resonating. I
Okay.
shall. I
Okay.
I am curious. Know, does anybody know of a niggin that was associated with the Rebbitzin? Do we know of one? Not particularly, right? All right. If anybody does find out, I'd love to know. Okay, what's coming to mind is the Malchus niggin. Remember, bracha, we dubbed it
Which one?
the Malchus niggin.
Which one is
It's
it?
a Shabbos niggin. It's a
Okay.
Shabbos niggin. And personally, for me, I have heard in this niggin this self-value, the Malchus that we are. This niggin somehow has that for me. So maybe we'll share that in reflection of the Rebbitzin today.
Okay.
Okay. Adam, I da 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 I know I da da oh da da oh ya da I da 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 I da da mo oh ya na na no ma ya do I know oh ya da mo oh ya oh ya na 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 oh ya na oh I na da 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 Ay da da da, ay da da, ay da da, ah da 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 da, ay da da. Ay da da, oh ya inam, aho inam, ayananam, ayananam. Ayinam, 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 ayananam. Ayidum, ayananam. Ayinam. Ayananam, Ainahuramam, Ainainam, Ainananam. I da do nam, I da 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 do I am I am I da 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 oh you I am Rom,
Wow. Woo! I can listen forever. Wow. Woo!
Thank you for
Transported.
that opportunity. Yes, thank you very
Transported.
much for that
Beautiful.
opportunity to share on such a powerful day. Whoa.
Thank you
And
for
connect in
honoring
that
us
way.
with that. Beautiful. Wow.
Thank you.
Uplifting the whole energy.
Are you
Beautiful.
putting out music or you're not, or not as of now?
Well, I'm in the middle of training. I have another half a year officially to,
Wow.
according to this trainer, to know my voice. So please God, I'm sure things will be happening. Meanwhile, I am doing workshops on Zoom. If anybody knows anybody anywhere that would like that. Roxy
it.
was just at one. Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for letting us know.
yeah.
Thank you,
very much.
Javi. I have to
Thank
go
you.
in like 5 minutes. Like so I don't know if you guys are staying much longer, but I just
Whoever.
wanted to thank Bracha and Nechama and everyone that was here, and yeah, just thank the Rebbitzin, like you said, like you said, Bracha, a living example. And it's not the best way to teach, it's the only way to teach is by example. And her grace, her humility, her malchus, her just her greatness in knowing exactly who she was and just living her life in such a, I don't know, it's such a geula way, telling the girls to enjoy life and just all these things. And, having, I don't know, her intelligence, there's just so much. And yeah, it took, at least for me, it took so long for me to understand it. But I had like a thing with the Rebbitzin, like after 20 years after her passing, I remember coming back from the Kinnos and I was on the airplane and I looked at her picture and I just had like, I don't know, something inside me was like, and I just started crying and crying and crying. Like, I don't know, I guess I wasn't able to see it before, but it's so beautiful to be able to share with all of you and everyone bring their own insights and their own experience and energy and love and light. And yeah, this was so awesome. It was just really special, such a gift for her and for all of us. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
And it's great to see everyone. Sending love to everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your beautiful words. Anybody else want to share?
I also want to just wrap up with saying I'm just smiling because this is just like exactly the way it needed to be, just show up and not plan it and honor the Rebbetzin and just speak from our heart. And I'm so happy it happened today on Chof Bais Shvat. And yeah, thank you, Bracha. It was all, Shkacha Pratis, exactly the way it was supposed to be. And you ended up being here, which is even more special.
Yeah, because I keep on checking my email. I was expecting some work that I had to do, whatever. And I was like, okay, this is planned from God. They didn't get back to me yet. I'm checking. Okay, they give me a break. Baruch Hashem. But I like it's just everything's so coordinated. It's just mind blowing. Like we just let it happen. It's like, oh yeah, like last minute we can do it for Farbrengen, no problem. I'll just arrange this. Hashem will just get that out of the way, this in the way. That's like, it's just fascinating to watch.
I feel like
yeah.
I feel like it's like I'm just being around everyone. I'm just absorbing when I was on, just like absorbing just the energy of everyone else. I'm just repeating. It's really special. Like when I was thinking, like also a big part of it could be also b'tachin is like kind of being in the ranging waters, like feeling. Sometimes it could be a feeling of like it could also be like there could be like outside, like money, whatever, like just the world, just reality, and then there could be also internal stuff, which both are connected. But like part of, I guess, learning from the Rebbitzin, I was thinking like it could be like one thing could be like just there's one thing about like allowing ourselves to like drink a tea and calm down and breathe and feel it and feel inwards. That could be a first step. And definitely also could be like, for me, I have a lot of I know for myself I have a lot of like, how do you say, fire, like as Simcha Chai was saying, like a lot of fire inside me, and sometimes like letting it out, but like in a different kind of way, different, like through in any sort of way, getting that out, and then that's reaching my wholeness, or reaching that space of like the Rebbetzin reached it in her way, and it's a state of being of like feeling complete and whole and just at peace with life, and feeling just looking at life and smiling and feeling aligned and happy and at peace and grateful. And it's not like something to do with something, it's just a reality, looking at the world and just like, yeah, that feels good, that feels right.
Thank you so much for sharing. Anybody else have anything to share?
I want to share something about what Rachi said. Rachi, I loved what you said about you're taking in how overwhelming it is to be connected to your greatness. I don't know if those are your exact words, but you made me feel like that's what we're all going through right now. Like it's so interesting what you're saying. You're looking at it through your family's legacy, but really I can see so much bigger that there's not a hierarchy of it. Like there's no like this family is connected in this way. It's like none of us really know our inside and who we are and where we come from or how we connect to the Torah. We're all remembering that. And so we all have this greatness within us that we're all actually, I feel like I'm overwhelmed with my own capacity to like to feel what I'm going through and just absorbing this, you know? And so I think that's where there's a oneness for all of us in that. Like we're all connected to that feeling. And that's where Mashpia takes on a different form. It now becomes more supportive instead of one person knowing more than the other. It's really someone's light that's shining and actually being a mirror, like the Rebbitzin was such a mirror. It's so touching. I remember seeing where she was in her house. I think they did a questioning about the books of. If you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it was in her house, and there was like an interpreter, and the first thing I noticed was like she was wearing very simple clothing. She was actually didn't even have a wig on. I don't think she had like a head covering on, and I took in all these details. Like she just showed up. That's all she did. It's like there was no air. She didn't have to prove anything, and she didn't have to come off as anything. It's like when you know you're in your truth and you're going to speak truth, there's no outside anything that has to show up. And that's what I got from seeing that she just spoke what she wanted. She said what she wanted. She was who she was. And if anything, that's the mirror I see in her, that she's always reflecting back to me that truth, that wholeness. And I don't have to ever question, am I doing this right? Am I not doing this right? Am I showing up okay? Am I not showing up okay? It's like she actually activates within us. You just are okay. That's it. Like just be. So that was
beautiful. Thank you so much.
Love that.
Love that. Yeah.
Can I just add something really tiny to that, Shingle Mocha? In that deposition, did anybody see this? It just makes me laugh every time I see it. I forget what the question is, but at one point there's a question that's asked to the Rebbitzin, and she says, "What kind of question is that?"
Yeah.
You remember this?
Like
It's
duh. Like I just thought
hysterical.
this is like duh. Like
It is hysterical,
Yeah,
and they just move on, and she's
Yeah.
completely snipped it.
Yeah.
But it's such profound dignity.
Yes, exactly. There's so much to be learned from that, to watch it. Exactly. Yeah.
Wow.
Shandel, thanks for your reflection. That was really special. I think it's important, like, and I think that drives home the point that like we all have our own, we don't know the power of our neshama. And like, but I just think like, I don't know, for me, it came through hearing my mother speak. That was the experience of it. And also it was in the context of like having a lot of questions, you know, and questioning like my past. And but that's the thing with when you come into Geula, like the past is part of getting you to, it's the 10 plagues, right? Fabi gave me that's really good insight. Just she wants to say something. You want to say something, sweetie? Anyways, what was I saying? I don't know. Anyways, yeah, I know I appreciated that. I think it's important to set, like, it's almost like taking the power from above and not like realizing that all the parts of us are, okay, I think I'm done. Thanks for listening.
For sharing. Actually,
Thank you so much. I need to go.
Bye, Viviana.
Thank you for joining.
Viviana
Thank you, everybody.
Viviana has to join the Malchus group.
Okay, sure. That's sure.
Thank you. I was thinking like, well, I don't know, I wasn't on when she shared about like appreciating like family, like roots. I was always thinking like, it was always a thing for me, like, I don't know, like now we're a new Avaida and all that. And recently I was thinking like the fact that our grandparents did these things these crazy, you know, like Mesiras Nefesh, anyone that has those stories, it means that we have that inner strength. I'm like, no, it's just like that connection I had. It's like, it's not, it's like, there is obviously like a separate identity. We are our own people, and we also have that special gift from Avram Avinu. You know, we also have that special, so we like could appreciate it, and then we could activate it in this time, and this, and with, we could activate it at like with, by like through like being our whole selves. Like we can activate their strength through being our whole, like reaching our own completion and our own soul neshama mission, and right now in this lifetime, and connecting, like we have that strength from then, so now we can be very, very clear, or very firm, or very strong about what we're here to do right now, and what our mission is, our purpose is, our stage, like our like our direction and our intention and our mission, what we feel like, what's our drive and our, where is Hashem sending us at this moment. And this is, and we can use that same strength, but it's in a more, we could also absorb it, and you could absorb that, create the space to really contain it all.
Thank you. It's just it reminded me of the story that Yossi Jacobson shared, where somebody mentioned to the Rebbe about, you know, the yichus and all that, and the Rebbe was saying, like, you guys, that's who you were in the past. Like, we're reincarnations. We incarnated many times. We were the ones who did that, all of us. We did, you know, and now we're ready for the next stage. It was like we're standing on that accomplishment, learned what we needed to know about ourselves, and then take it higher. It's like standing on top of a horse, you know, like riding a horse, like you're getting onto the horse, and now you can go further. So it's like the Rebbe said, who do you think the ancestors were? That was us. It's the same people. We were the ones who went out of Mitzrayim. We were the ones who lived through all those thousands of years, and we're the ones who we're talking about the greatness. We were them, and now we're just taking it home and coming, you know, bringing it all the way home to the revelation of.
I was actually talking to someone that's not from, like not from, but someone that like shows her own path, not her own path, but like she's discovering more her own malchus, but without the, like, not without the information, but in her own way. Not necessarily in the realm of halacha and Torah. And you hear her talk, she sounds like Mesiras Nefesh story. I had an inner voice, I had a calling, and I went for it. And like that's like what did they die for? It's the same Mesiras Nefesh calling. Like
it is, it's really the same thing, because maybe the Avodah of that time was Mesiras Nefesh, but it came from within, right? The Alter Rebbe says in the Tanya, where do people get the strength to have Mesiras Nefesh? Because they get in touch with that piece of themselves, right? That's one with Atzmos, and that was the Avodah of the time. So we're doing the same thing when we tune in to Atzmos, but it's a different expression. And it's not a Mesiras Nefesh, it's about Dir B'tach Tainim. It's about, you know, there's this whole beautiful world that we're creating, you know, this whole feminine energy that we're bringing into the world, and making this a beautiful, instead of a hierarchy, harmonious, peaceful, loving, you know. And it's also about letting everybody be true to themselves, because just like a body, right, has all different parts, and you don't want the ear to be a finger, and nobody tries to get and if the ear would be jealous of the finger, I mean, it would be all wrong. It's like about allowing every part to be who they need to be, and that's why we have the boundaries. It's like, okay, I need to figure out if I'm an ear or if I'm an eye. I don't even know. I'm all confused because everybody told me I was an eye, but I think I'm an ear. And right, so that's all what we're doing now, is like figuring out who we are, and then the beauty is, the harmony is when each part plays its role when it's needed to. Instead of saying, oh, you're not necessary, you're an eye. Like, no, sometimes we need an eye, sometimes we need an ear. And the whole beautiful harmony of Geula is that everybody's going to be different, because it's like Hashem has so many different aspects of himself. He wants each one to shine. He wants a flower to be a flower, you know, an orange to be an orange. And then we play this beautiful, symphony. Like each thing shows up as needed, and everybody lets it. It's like, oh, that's your part. Everybody keep quiet, and then everybody knows when to, they know their strength and they know when to show up, and that's the whole beauty of Geula. In the past, it was all confusing. We all thought we have to be very confused. We thought the name of Achtos, everybody has to be eyes, and everybody has to be noses and mouths, and it didn't work, and it just caused chaos, and it was chaos. So now we're being Mavara. No, I happen to be an eye, you happen to be a nose, and just accept that. So this is like this is what we're doing.
That is communism, really. Like, if we think about what is communism, like everyone has to, we all are equal. So therefore, let's manage everybody. Let's have some people that are more equal to manage the equal, to make people equal.
And now in America, if you want to compare it
And
to
now, like,
America,
we could have a king. We could say we could have a king, because we trust that that king is worthy of being the king, and we're choosing it, and we're doing the inner work to align with ourselves, to feel safe in as fully being us, and fully being ourselves, and being able to accept and saying a full body yes, yes, and really, and working through all the figuring out who we are to know what we need to say yes, and to how we need to hear it, and what we need, basically figuring out who we are to figure out what our place is in this world. And so when we say yes, it's a real yes, because there is no other, there's no one else's voices are saying the yes for us. We're saying a full, complete yes.
Beautiful. Thanks. That's a great point.
Yes, thank you, everyone. Since I'm the host and I'm the one that's, if I leave, it probably will, but I would like to wrap up. So.
Thank you.
thank you.
Anybody have one last thing they want to get in before we wrap up? Last chance.
Yeah, the thing about communism, that's a great analogy. I love that. I think it ties into the whole evolution, because now we're everyone's in America is, quote, except, whereas the center of Chabad is accepted for who they are officially. But that's the first step to Geula, is that everyone's accepted for who they are. Yeah. So thank you for bringing that communism. That's a really good visual.
Yeah, I love that too. That we think we have freedom, but we thought we were free, but everything was an illusion of, we were the opposite of free, but everything was hidden. Even now, things that are quote unquote, for our own well-being is a hidden lies in disguise to take away from our own freedom of health and choice and thoughts and feelings. So yeah, that's all the lies that we need to heal. And it can only happen when we're in alignment with ourselves, because we can only know truth if we listen to ourselves, because otherwise you go crazy. Anyways, l'chaim, everybody. It was so
Thank you so much. It was amazing. And that's just Hashem, we'll be able to do some more of these wonderful Farbrengens.
We should. Maybe once a month or something. It would be beautiful.
Yeah, that's just Hashem.
Nice seeing everyone's faces and voices, and